we are told by some people in the South, including people like Haley Barbour, who's the former governor of Mississippi, that, well, the Confederate flag has a rich history and it stands for wonderful things. Bill O'Reilly just said on air that it stands for bravery. Okay. I didn't know that. I thought it kind of stood for slavery. But no, they tell us, no. It's actually our heritage in the South. Okay, interesting. So now you want to hear something interesting? The Confederate flag that you know, that's in the graphic you see next to me, was actually never the Confederate flag. Between 1861 and 1865, the Confederacy had 3 different flags. Let me show them to you. None of them were the ones that you know now. So that's not remotely. They got confused there because that looked too close to the American flag. So in the middle of the Civil War, people didn't know who they were trying to kill. So they had to go to a second version of the flag, which was this. Now, it's a lot closer to the current flag that we know as the Confederate flag, but there's obviously not the same thing. So where's the heritage that you're trying to protect? Why not protect this flag? And then the third flag was this one. Weird, but anyway, it has what we know as the Confederate flag within it, kind of like the Mississippi state flag does, but it is not what we traditionally know. So why not go with, if it's about tradition, why not go with tradition? Not about tradition, okay? In fact, the Confederate flag we know became a lot more popular in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s when the federal government was trying to make sure that we integrated the whole country, including the South, okay, black people and white people. Well, in the South, they were for segregation. They didn't like that. So they fought back by bringing back this flag, and they used it as a sign of, I don't want to mix with black people. Was it racial? Of course it was racial. In fact, let's go to the quotes now. Huffington Post had a good story about this. In the late 1940s, they explained, the flag was adopted as a symbol of the Dixiecrats, a political party devoted to, among other things, maintaining segregation. They also opposed President Harry S. Truman's proposals to instate anti-discrimination laws and make lynching a federal crime. Part of the reason they brought the Confederate flag back, such as it is, even though it wasn't the real flag, is because they were pissed that there was going to be a federal law against lynching black people. You know, 1940s is not that long ago. I mean, it's not like it was 1840s, 1740s. It's not like the Crusades. 1940s. And they're like, God damn it, we can't lynch black people anymore? I hate this president. Unbelievable. Okay, now let's get a little closer to our time. John M. Koski, who's a historian, writes that though the Dixiecrats soon faded into obscurity, their campaigns made the flag a fixture in places where it had been only a novelty before. Koski gives the example of the University of Mississippi, which he notes rarely used the battle flag as a symbol prior to 1948. And later, of course, Ole Miss was integrated, and there was race riots in 1962 when they brought their first black student on. 1962 was the first time Ole Miss had a black student, and the whites rioted. And they started hanging the Confederate flag, or what they thought was the Confederate flag, around. You think it wasn't racial? No, they brought it back specifically to be racial, to discriminate, for the idea of legal discrimination. Okay, more. Again, Koski says the university began heavily incorporating the symbol into school activities and events a few months after students protested against Truman's civil rights proposals. All right, now let's go to different states. In 1963, Alabama Governor George Wallace raised the flag over the state capitol in protest against desegregation. So it wasn't in the state capitol in Alabama since the Civil War. It got raised in 1963 as a sign of, we hate blacks. We do not want to integrate with them. We want segregation where we're separate, where we have separate water fountains, separate pools. Separate pools, we're back to that a little bit. But so in 1963, Alabama put the Confederate flag up there to say, we don't want to be with black people. You think it isn't about race? No, you just don't know the facts. If that's what you think, you're absolutely positively wrong. Okay, finally, let's go to Georgia. The Georgia State Senate Research Office found that the integration of the battle flag into the Georgia state flag in 1956 was in fact racially motivated. So of course it was about race. That's exactly what the Confederate flag is about. It's not about anything else. The whole idea of states' rights is absurd because the whole point was the right to have slaves. That's what the Civil War was about. Now some people dispute that as well. So let's actually switch over to that. Let's go to O'Reilly and show you what he had to say to Juan Williams about this issue of the Confederate flag.
I think that Dylann Roof, this idiot we're looking at now, represents 0.1% of the population.
I wish.
That's what I believe. You say the Confederate flag is a symbol of hate, and you believe that.
That's the way I feel when I see it.
Okay, okay. And absolutely 100% legitimate. For some other people who see it in a historical context.
What's the historical context?
It represents bravery.
Oh, get out of town. Bravery, they put it up. They put it up in anger when they were trying to mass resist the civil rights movement in the 60s.
You know as well as I do that it represents to some bravery in the Civil War because the Confederates fought hard. You're right historically, but in their minds, that's what it represents. And in your mind, it represents hate. So, and everybody should know what the two sides are believing.
That's legit.
All right? Yeah. Okay? That's my job.
That's his job. He's just got to tell you what the two sides are. One side says it was a sign of slavery and discrimination. Juan Williams pointed out they brought the flag back, just as I told you recently. To discriminate, specifically for that purpose. The other side says, oh, no, it was bravery. They fought hard, the Confederates did. Yeah, they did. They fought hard for the right to enslave, kill, rape black people in this country. Hey, don't sugarcoat it. That's exactly what it was. They fought for slavery, and in slavery, they kidnapped, they raped, they murdered, they lynched, okay? Don't sugarcoat it. You know that's 100% true, okay? Although some conservatives today say, no, we gave them free housing. What are they complaining about? They actually say that. Bill Kristol today, another former Fox News contributor, still on television, said, oh, yeah, I mean, why don't we celebrate the Confederate dead soldiers? Don't we have to pay respect to them? How about paying respect to the dead slaves? No, we're not going to do that. No, we're going to respect the Confederates. Okay, and now to address the issue of whether the Confederacy really was about anything but slavery. Okay, don't trust me? Let's go to the states that actually seceded. In their reasons for seceding, they stated things that were very, very clear. South Carolina said, states north of that line have united in the election of a man to the high office of President of the United States whose opinions and purposes are hostile to slavery. So they seceded. They began the Civil War. Mississippi said our position is thoroughly identified with the institution of slavery, the greatest material interest of the world. Thoroughly identified with the institution of slavery. I didn't say it. Mississippi said it when they seceded. By the way, all of these states were, of course, at the time, the most un-American, unpatriotic states that you could possibly be. They rebelled against the United States of America. They no longer wanted to be American. That's what we're celebrating? That's what Fox News is celebrating? A bunch of traitors who stabbed this country in the back, who went to war against America? That's what they're celebrating? Louisiana said when they were seceding, the people of the slaveholding states are bound together by the same necessity and determination to preserve African slavery. Are we clear enough yet? Let's go to Texas. Texas says the servitude of the African race as existing in these states is mutually beneficial to both bond and free and is abundantly authorized and justified by the experience of mankind. Well, gee, I wonder why they seceded. They told you it's because of slavery. And finally, let's go to Confederate Commander John Mosby. And by the way, there are dozens and dozens of these quotes. Know your facts, know your history. Just research it. All you got to do is look it up, okay? The vice president of the Confederacy, the president of the Confederacy said, it's slavery, it's because of slavery. And John Mosby, Confederate commander, said, quote, I've never heard of any other cause than slavery. So what did the Confederate flag stand for? It didn't stand for bravery.